All right, for segment 1 today, we are going to continue on with combat in the Alien RPG. And we're going to focus specifically in this first video, or I guess it's the third video really, on stress and panic mechanics. And then we're going to talk about some other things like conditions. I don't know if they're called conditions in this game, but they act like conditions when we get to that point a little later on. And then the next video, we'll finish the combat section by talking about vehicle combat. But for now, please stay tuned for our panic. Don't be afraid. We'll be right back. Role-playing games thrive in fantastic worlds and at inclusive tables that embrace these core values for the most positive gaming experience. Donate to the Wounded Warrior Project via the link in the description below to help, honor, and empower our wounded heroes. On Thursdays and Saturdays, watch Heathen Dog's Dirty Casuals play multiplayer video games over on Twitch. On Sundays and Fridays, join us for tabletop role-playing game content on both YouTube and Rumble. Finally, please take a quick moment to like this video and share it with both your friends and on social media. If you have not done so, please subscribe to Legion of Myth and activate that bell icon to receive notifications of new content. All right, there we are with Alien. I'm going to put that comment on the screen. Hold on. It's more difficult for me to get comments. I think that'd be awesome, Grizzly Beardo. Also remember, because of cinematic mode, this game can be absolutely perfect for one shot. So definitely keep that in mind. You run it in cinematic mode with the what are they called? The story points. They're not called experience. What the heck? My God, I can't get words. Anyway, each character's objectives. I'm just going to call it that. I forget if that's the exact term or not. But every character having an objective that could make it quite fun. I like the cinematic mode of this game. I mean, I personally prefer to play in campaign mode, but I like the idea of cinematic mode, and I like the fact that there are rules for it directly. So, all right, where are we in the book? Was it 106? Not close enough. And scroll down. There we go. Stress and panic. You take a little drinky drink here before I start reading. You can't tell, my throat isn't sore, but I've done a lot of talking the last few days, so it's a little raw. All right. So we've talked about it quite a bit. Now we actually get to dive into what is this stress level nonsense that this game has, and why is it so cool? The mounting tension in your character is measured by a stress level. Usually starts at 0 and increases during the course of the game. Your stress level increases by 1 whenever one of the following happens. So here we go. If any of these happens, you get a stress die. Where am I? Are these my alien dice? Yes. Remember, these black ones here are your, get out of the cup. These black ones, oh no, you can't really see that, are your normal base dice. When you're under stress, or when you have stress, you get to add yellow ones to it. But the yellow ones have this fun little face hugger on it. And if you roll that, biscadios. So, yeah, we want to, the cool part is that you get to roll more dice. The bad part is, well, again, face huggers. Nobody likes face huggers. Unless you're really, really lonely. So what events cause your stress level to increase? Well, first of all, if you push a skill roll. Well, I know Heathen Dog's not a huge fan of the pushing mechanic anyway. I love it, by the way. I absolutely love the pushing mechanic. But now there's another reason not to push your roll. Not only could you take attribute damage. Wait, do you take attribute damage in Alien? See, I get some of the stuff confused. My God, some of the comments out there, like Ron Niabati makes some really nice comments, like, hey, a little correction here, a little correction there. Other people like, my God, you dumb, did you even read the book? Have you ever played the game before? No, I get a lot of these games confused when I'm not playing them. I got Mutant Year Zero and Forbidden Lands and Coriolis and different success levels and Coriolis, so forth. So, I can't remember if pushing the roll hurts your, even if we did read it like last week or 2 weeks ago. But anyway, at worst, you at least get the stress dice. So you get more dice. And if you fire a burst of full auto fire, again, I'm not fully convinced about that one, but I understand that it is thematic. Okay, a couple people tried to explain it last week as to why, and I'm not arguing like, oh, just because you fire in full auto, you should never get. No, I get it. The game has it in there because it's supposed to represent, again, you're under stress because a trained soldier doesn't use full auto unless it's maybe suppression fire or something. So if you're doing that, okay, there's got to be something going on that's got your stress level high. At least that's how I read it for this. Because other than that, I don't really like that rule, but I would use it if I ran the game. I'd absolutely use it. You suffer 1 or more points of damage. Now that one, I didn't know. Okay, you take damage, your stress level goes up. Now, to be fair, it says 1 or more points, so that's per attack. Okay, so if a weapon does 3 points of damage to you, you're not taking 3 stress, you're just taking 1. But if you're hit by a second weapon, well, then now you've got 2 points of stress, right? So I didn't know about that one. That's okay. You go without sleep, food, or water. I can see how that's stressful. You perform a coup de grace. Now, there is the cold-blooded talent, which can prevent that. But one of the things I love about Free League, I've had a few people, more than you would think, argue with me on this point. What, I'm killing evil, so I wouldn't have a problem doing it. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I've never been in the situation, so maybe you'd be, well, you're talking to your butt, you've never been there. How hard it actually is to kill somebody who's just laying on the ground. Whether it is a true mercy or you're just doing it to, get the person off the planet. That's not something that anybody does lightly. And I like that Free League puts that in the games. And a scientist on your team fails to use the analysis talent. Wow, that's another interesting one. You fail to analyze it, so now you're stressed out. Okay, I get frustrated, when something's broken here and I can't fix it, so I get it. Now, a member of your own crew attacks you. Okay, yeah. A member nearby is revealed to be an android. Uh-oh, heathen dog. Uh-oh. You want to be the android? Well, you're giving stress to everybody. You encounter certain creatures or locations as determined by the scenario or the GM. It's kind of like Horror Factory for you Palladium guys. So, okay, I get all that. I can quibble, and I'm just being kind of a douche nozzle about this, let's be honest. But I can quibble about the full auto fire, but in the theme of the game, okay, let's just move on. Let me not belabor that point. So gaining stress dice. Whenever you make a skill roll, you must add a number of stress dice equal to your current stress level to your roll. Must? What do you mean must? I want to add them. Well, just in case you didn't for some reason, you must add them. So if you have a strength of 5 and a heavy machinery of 3 and a stress level of 2, you'll be rolling 5 plus 3, which is 8, plus 2 stress dice, so 10. 8 base dice, 2 stress dice, 10 total dice, and let's roll those dice and see what happens. Your stress makes you more focused, increasing your chance to succeed. There's a flip side to this, though. If you roll 1 or more face huggers or a 1 on a d6 that you designate as the stress dice, you must make a panic roll. Didn't we look at the panic roll last week? Maybe. Not sure. As long as you keep your stress in check, you can use it to your advantage. But if the tension grows too strong, it can explode, sending you into a wild panic. You need to make a panic roll when any of the following happens. Okay, so now we've already talked about when you get stressed, which there are quite a few situations that cause it. Now we're going to see when you roll for stress. You roll 1 or more face huggers on your stress dice in a skill roll. If this happens, you can't. Okay. I'm kind of with Crafty on this one when it comes to technical writing. Don't use contractions, but because I think it adds more emphasis when you don't use a contraction, but you cannot push the skill roll. Instead, you roll for panic. So you failed. Chances are you failed because, again, you can push a roll even outside of a failure, even if you succeed to get more successes. But in this case, we'll just say you failed. Not only did you fail, but instead of getting to push the roll, you roll for panic. You witness a friendly character suffering from a certain panic effect. So if your buddy next to you is freaking out, that's just great. That's just effing great. Not the F we're supposed to do. Then you know what? You have to make a panic roll as well to see if that panic is contagious. Like yawning, man. Somebody yawns, everybody yawns. Well, somebody freaks out, you might freak out. You're pinned down by a ranged attack. Okay, so somebody's suppressing you. You suffer a critical injury. You're attacked by a strange alien creature that you've never seen before. So not only does it, give you a point of stress. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? You encounter certain, you encounter certain creatures, locations that are, so the creature's one. You now get to actually roll a panic roll. That's great. A truly horrifying event occurs as determined by the scenario of the GM. And that's one of those things where I might look at and say, you know what, a colonial marine seeing a dead body isn't going to require a panic roll. While you're playing the kid character, it might. I might actually adjudicate it that way in my game. So resolution, roll a d6 and add your current stress level. So let's just say my character has a stress level of 3. Those are the wrong dice. All right. So it says roll a d6 and add your current stress level. And I got my nice little die roller here from Mark McKinnon's Bessem game. And I rolled a 2. So we'll get back to that in a moment. So I have a stress of 3 and I rolled a 2, so that's a total of 5. So we'll see what happens. Roll a d6, add your current stress level, and check the table to the right. Panic actions. If you roll a 10 or higher on your panic roll, okay, you will be forced to perform a specific action. If the panic was the result of a skill check for an action, the action is canceled and immediately replaced, 2 important words there, by the forced panic action, even if you rolled successes. So even if you rolled successes on your action, you no longer perform that action. You did something else. If you're suffering from a panic effect, 7 or more on the panic roll, and are forced to make another panic roll, the new panic effect replaces the previous one. Again, replaces. They're not stacking on top of each other. They're replacing. If the new roll is lower than the previous effect, however, it is automatically adjusted to 1 step more severe than the previous effect. So things aren't ever going to get better for you. All right. Overkill. The overkill talent, remember we talked about talents a couple weeks ago? Lets you replace the effect of a panic roll result of 11 or higher by the overkill effect if you have any enemies in sight. When triggering overkill, you must immediately attack your enemies, and you won't stop until you or all your enemies in sight are broken. That's very reminiscent of Hudson checking up above and seeing all the aliens there and just freaking out and just go, "You want some? You want some? Yeah, you want some?" So, also, all other PCs in short range of you must make an immediate panic roll because you've just gone bonkers and freaking out, and they feel they need to freak out. There must be power loader. I mean, I get what you're saying. No, she screamed a lot in that movie. So, and I think those are reminiscent of the panic effects when we get to them. All right, let's see here. Stopping panic. Some effects on the panic roll table are immediate or last 1 round. Others remain in effect until one of the following happens. Another character comes to your aid and makes a command roll. Get your crap together. This counts as a slow action in combat, so you're not shooting at the same time. You are broken. Hey, good news. You're unconscious. Well, it's not technically unconscious, but basically you're unconscious, immobilized, unable to do anything. You're not panicked anymore. Or 1 turn passes. What was the turn again? 15 minutes, I think? So, relieving stress. For every full turn, there you go, 5 to 10 minutes, spent resting in a safe area that is secure from enemies, as far as you know anyway, your stress... I love that. That parenthetical there is great. Whew. Why can't I relieve stress? Well, I can't tell you that, but you can't relieve stress because there are creatures in there. No, as far as you know, there's nothing in the area. Oh, everything's great. And then, of course, it comes up out of the water behind you, and, your stress level is reduced by 1 point. You cannot make any skill rolls when resting, and if your rest is interrupted, it doesn't count. A panic roll can also decrease stress, as can certain drugs. Once per act in cinematic play, so okay, this is going to be just for cinematic play, and once per game session in campaign play, there you go, there's a difference between the two, you can interact with your signature item in some way to reduce your stress level 1 step. Go back to the character creation rules, we went over what the different signature items were for each of the character profession. What do they call in this game? Jobs, professions, careers? I think it's careers in this game. This typically requires a slow action. You can't just look at it and be like, "Oh, look, there's my doll. Okay, I'm good." No, you have to be like, "Oh, little Sybil, how you doing today?" And then maybe the stress level comes down a little bit. Some conditions such as starving, freezing can block your ability to relieve stress. Yeah, no matter how calm you are, if you're dying, you're probably still under a little bit of stress, right? Oops. Permanent mental trauma. All right. Now we're getting into the insanity rules of Palladium and Call of Cthulhu here. If you have rolled a result of 13 or higher on a panic roll during a game session, you must make an empathy roll after the session. So that's a little metagaming there. So it's after you guys are done playing, after the session. Roll for the attribute only, not using any skill. If the roll succeeds, you develop a permanent mental trauma of some kind. Remember, empathy is one of the 4 attributes. We have, is it strength, agility, wits, and empathy? So if the roll succeeds, you develop a permanent mental trauma of some kind. Roll a d6 and consult the table on 101, which we'll get to in a moment. So what does that mean? If you have a higher empathy, you have a higher chance of coming to some sort of mental illness. Why is that? Because you're more in tuned. You're not you don't start off as a sociopath, okay? So you're more affected by that stuff because you had a higher empathy. All right, let's look at some of these panic. Well, I got a 5, so I managed to keep it together. Managed to keep your nerves in check. Barely. All right, well, let's just say we built this up. What's kind of cool about this, if you actually think about that, the game doesn't completely punish you with, if you have one point of stress. Right? I mean, something can go wrong. You could have 1 point of stress and you can roll a 6. 1 + 6 is 7, and 7 here's a nervous twitch. Your stress level and the stress level of all friendly PCs in short range of you increases by 1. Isn't that great if you're standing next to this guy and all he did was fail a roll and all of a sudden your stress level goes up? Like, but I didn't do it. But it is difficult to get to, was it 15% if I remember my D6 math, or close enough. To do that. I mean, the game expects that you're going to get some stress and it doesn't want to kill you over the fact that you got stress. But if you keep building it up, and you have no ability or desire to relieve it, well, now all of a sudden you run, let's say you have 6 stress. If you have 6 stress, as soon as you make a panic roll, you're guaranteed for something to happen. Because you can't roll less than a 1 on a D6. So you're at worst going to have a nervous twitch. But let's just say you have 6 stress because you're a weirdo, and you add 6 to it. Well, you got a 12. Good news, it's not a permanent effect still. Remember? Permanent effect started at 13 or higher if I read that page right. If I remember the page right. Yeah, if you have a rolled result of 13 or higher during a panic roll, well, good. We don't have to worry about that. The highest you can get is 12. Well, what's 12? Scream! You scream your lungs out for 1 round, losing your next slow action. Okay, tell me that's not newt. Your stress level is decreased by 1. Hey, that's nice. Yay, you screamed it out of you. You got it out. Good job. Your stress level drops by 1. But every friendly character hears your scream must make an immediate panic roll. Oh. And what happens, what's the worst one here? 15 plus. So that means you have at least 9 stress. Somehow you built yourself up to 9 stress. The nicest thing that could happen to you is freeze on a panic roll, okay? But the worst thing that could happen is catatonic. You collapse to the floor and can't talk or move, staring blankly into oblivion. You're shell-shocked, man. You're just perfectly shell-shocked. Okay, I think everybody has a permanent fear of xenomorphs. That should just be true going into the game. All right, we're not going to look at the rest of those, but you get the idea of things that can happen. Seek cover, scream, flee, berserk, NPCs and panic. So what's different between player characters and NPCs? Well, stress levels are only tracked for player characters, never for non-player characters, and NPCs never make panic rolls. Instead, NPCs panic when the GM deems it appropriate. Panicking NPCs can increase the stress level of PCs nearby. This is up to the GM's judgment. I actually watched a Let's Play of this a couple of years ago where somebody rolled a D6. Just took one of the D6. If it was a face hugger, the NPC panicked. If it was not a face hugger, the NPC didn't panic. I don't know if that's fair or not. I'm just saying, but it's a neat way. Maybe he only did it when he wasn't sure. I don't know, but I just remember him rolling dice and saying, "Okay, if face hugger comes up, your cohorts here go nuts." All right, so that's really it for stress and panic. Notice that there's not a lot there. It's pretty simple, but man, is it meaningful for this game, right? Now, you might think the segment's over, but no, we have one more section to go through here. We want to talk about other hazards. We're going to talk about some conditions here before we get into vehicle combat in the next video. So let's look at conditions. And I'm guessing just by looking this part over here that this is going to be very similar to the other games I'm used to, like Forbidden Lands. But we'll see. I did have one person ask me not to compare this to Forbidden Lands anymore because it's confusing me, and he's probably right. It's just I played a lot more Forbidden Lands than, well, really any other Year Zero game. The world of Alien is unforgiving, and there are many ways for your character to suffer and die. Oh, you mean I don't just scream myself to death? That's great. Let's find out how we can die. In the game, there are 4 so-called conditions. Starving, yeah, that'll do it. Dehydrated, yeah, okay. Exhausted, yep, okay. And freezing. Oh, that's a fun one. You know, as somebody who's from Minnesota, yeah, freezing doesn't sound fun at all. I'm just saying. These can cause damage and block recovery. Mark conditions in the relevant checkboxes on your character sheet. It's very cold in space. Although I think some scientists would argue that and say it's technically not cold in space, but whatever. Something about thermodynamics. I don't know. Starving. After a day without sufficient food, you become starving. Being starving has several effects. My starving, Marvin. You cannot recover health or relieve stress. Well, now we know how that stress got higher. You're freaked out over not having any food. And because you don't have food, you can't find a way to, relieve your stress. So that's great. Okay. And you can't recover health. Now, to be fair, that's pretty common in the Free League games. But so there you go. You don't want to be starving if you want to get healed. Every day you need to make a stamina roll. If you fail, you suffer 1 point of damage and your stress level increases 1 step. Now, remember, people can live for days without eating. Water, not so much, but days you can live. And by days, I mean, was it like 2-3 weeks for some folks? I don't want to do that. I'd rather be fat. If you are broken while starving, you need to make a death roll. We've already covered that. Every day. Every day? Oh, wow. You have to make a death roll every day. Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Medical aid has no effect against these death rolls. You can only be saved by ingesting some form of substance. Yeah, there's no form of first aid making you feel good. So be like, oh, I'm sorry you're starving, but hang in there, buddy. Okay, I got another day. As soon as you've eaten, the above effect wears off within 1 shift. Okay, so you eat, and then 1 shift, which is, 6 to 10 hours? I'm just going to go with 8. I'm going to go quarter days because I like the Forbidden Lands way. So, 6-ish hours later. There you go. Ha! Take that, you non-Forbidden Lands people. But the point is, it takes hours. Dehydrated. After a day without sufficient water, you become dehydrated. Being dehydrated has several effects. You cannot recover health or relieve stress. Okay, seems to be a common factor there. Every shift, you suffer 1 point of damage and your stress level increases 1 step. Okay, every shift, again, about every 6 to 8 hours, you are now taking another point of damage. If you are broken while dehydrated, you must make a death roll after every shift without liquid. One thing I just picked up on here, and it probably answers the question that I said earlier in this video that 30 people have already given comments on saying, no, you were wrong, is, yeah, okay, it looks like you don't just lose strength, you don't just lose agility, you don't just lose, yes, I know I covered combat last week, and I probably should have picked up on that, but again, I have a lot of things I do in my life. So it isn't direct attribute damage when that happens. From what I'm getting from this, I would have to actually fill out a character sheet. I want to remind folks I've actually never played this game. I've only skimmed through the book, and I generally understand the Year Zero engine game. So I'm kind of learning it along with you. If you are broken while dehydrated, you must make a death roll every shift without liquid. Medical aid has no effect against these death rolls. Once again, you need fluids to save yourself. That makes sense. As soon as you drink, the above effects wear off within 1 shift. Okay. Exhausted. You need to sleep for at least 1 shift each day. After 1 day without sufficient sleep, you become exhausted. Being exhausted has several effects. You cannot relieve stress. I don't know. I've been so tired I didn't care anymore. I don't know if that counts, but especially when I was in the military. Yeah, there were times when I'm like, okay, sure. You must make a stamina roll each day with negative modification equal to the number of days spent without decent sleep. If the roll fails, you collapse and sleep. I'm out. And you sleep for a shift. Yep, I'm out. Thanks. You guys keep marching. I'm sleeping. Have a good day. As soon as you have slept for at least 1 shift, you are no longer exhausted. Oh, that's nice. All right. Vacuum. Oh, that's okay. Really? Well, can't wait to get to that part. All right. Let's look at the vacuum of space. Space is cold and unforgiving. Without the protection of a spacesuit or the hull of a ship, you won't last long in the black void. If your ship suffers explosive decompression below, or if you are thrown out of an airlock, your life is in extreme danger. The absence of pressure creates gas bubbles in your blood, causing your whole body to swell up. That's creepy. So you can starve in this game. Interesting. Must be some siege or a drift rule. Well, I mean, if you're out in the middle of space, or if you're on a planet where everything's poisonous or something, there's a bunch of ways that you can come up with that. It's very. I don't know if you played it, but it's very similar to Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands, I think, has the exact same ones, if I remember correctly. It's hunger, thirst, cold, and is it exhaustion for the other one? Is it sleep? I think it is. But yeah, so these are pretty reminiscent of most of the Free League games. You know, it's just the conditions. Like some people, what about fire? Well, fire will be a damage condition, okay? But your skin is all messed up. Yeah, that would be a critical injury. I've had people get really pedantic about there are more than 4 conditions in the world, man. Well, these 4 conditions are the important ones for this game, so to speak. Just like if you do Forbidden Lands and you're tracking your equipment, you have food, water, arrows, and torches. Like those. Doesn't mean you don't track anything else, but those are the 4 key ones that you track. So they have specific ways of doing that in the game, because that's for a fantasy dungeon dive. So a lot of what this game, what Year Zero Engine games do, is they tailor it towards the theme of the game. Hopefully that makes sense. The absence of pressure creates gas bubbles in your blood. Okay, we don't want to read that again. That's gross. This results in crippling pain, all while the raw UV radiation from the nearest star sears your skin. You can't hold your breath. If you do, your lungs collapse. After that, you're just moments away from death. This is just awesome. That sounds very pretty. I can't wait to have that happen. No, that sucks. You must make a stamina roll every round without protection in a vacuum. Remember, a round is 5 to 10 seconds. The test doesn't require an action. Well, that's nice. I don't have to think about it. But you must roll it before doing anything else in the round. The roll is unmodified for the first round, but you get a -1 modification for the second, third, you get -2. So basically, it is going to get you at some point, whether you like it or not. You know what? Maybe that's the test to see who can live out in the vacuum of space the longest. Yay, I made it 30 seconds. Yay, I only made it 20 seconds. Doesn't matter. You're both dead. A failed roll means you drop directly to 0 health and must make a death roll every round until you die or you enter a pressurized area. Oh, get the bends, baby. You're going to get the bends. You don't suffer a critical injury. I mean, the entirety of what's happening to you is critical. Yeah, I can see that. Right, let's get over here. Before going unconscious, you should put all your efforts towards getting a spacesuit on, if one can be found nearby. Climbing into a spacesuit quickly, a single slow action, requires a successful mobility roll. So if you want to do it basically in a round, you've got to make a mobility roll. Else, it's going to take a few rounds to get that thing on properly. So good luck. All right, explosive decompression. Firing guns inside a spacecraft is very stupid. I'm changing the words of the text there. Okay. Why is it stupid? Because it's very dangerous. If a shot misses its target in a room next to an outer bulkhead, the weapon will inflict its base damage rating on the bulkhead instead. Roll for the armor rating of the bulkhead. A typical civilian ship has an armor rating of 6. That's not as good as you might think it is. Armor rating of 6 means you roll 6 dice and hope to get successes. Sure, you could get 6 successes, which is awesome. You could also get 0 successes, which is very, very bad. I blame you, my YouTube, what for some reason is now being flooded with alien and AVP. There you go. There you go. Go watch those alien and AVP movies or reviews. I don't know. If the armor roll fails to stop the shot, it will penetrate the bulkhead, which means bad news for everyone. Not just you, everyone. Think of your friends. The air in the room will vent out into space in a turn, and the intense draft will require everyone to make a stamina roll to perform any action. The stamina roll itself counts as a fast action. All right. So basically, the fast action just represents that you're fighting against the pressures and everything that are going on there. And so you can still make your slow action after that, but you're doing it in a slower, more forceful way. Most ships will automatically seal off a breach compartment. Oh, well, that helps. That's good. Once the air is gone, anyone still in the vented compartment will suffer the effects of vacuum. So, the frying pan into the fire. We're not going to read the example. By the way, the book gives amazing examples. You should read them. Freezing. Oh, okay. This is great. Up there in the Great White North. In an environment without enough clothes or shelter, you become freezing. Being freezing has several effects. You cannot recover health or relieve stress. Okay, we're back to that again. You need to make a stamina roll at regular intervals. The colder it is, the more frequently you need to roll. Well, that's okay. If above freezing, once per day is enough. In sub-zero temperatures, roll once per shift. And in the deep coldest space or Minnesota, you need to roll every turn. If you fail, you suffer 1 point of damage and your stress level increases 1 step. If you are broken while freezing, you must make a death roll the next time you would need to roll for the cold. I would say if you're making a death roll, all your stress is gone. I've heard enough anecdotes of people who almost froze to death, and they're like, at that point, you're just like, whatevs. I'm not saying that should be your house rule. I'm just making an anecdote. As soon as you get warm, you stop rolling for stamina and start rolling for that nasty, horrible, tingling pain you get as your entire frostbit hands are starting to warm up, and does that hurt? And can recover health and relieve stress normally. All right, oh, look at that, explosions. But what's before explosions? Falling. Hey, let's look at that. Falling on a hard surface automatically inflicts amount of damage to you equal to the height of the fall in meters divided by 2. All right, so if you'd fall 10 meters, you roll 5 dice. Rounding all fractions down. Dice? Did I say, what did I say? Did I say I hope I said dice. If not, I meant to say if you fall 10 meters, you roll 5 dice. There we go. Hopefully that's what I said. Rounding all fractions down. In a controlled jump, roll mobility. Each success reduces the damage done by 1. Armor can also protect you from falling damage. Okay. I mean, I don't fully agree with that, but again, we're kind of keeping this simple for the purposes of the game, so I'm okay with that. You do have an Olivia twin. Well, I live in Alabama now. I haven't lived in Minnesota in a long time, but people still mess with me with how I say bag, plague, vag, bagel. What other words fall into that? Because apparently I never lost that part of the Minnesota accent. But can I do this chapter? Let's see if I can do this paragraph Minnesotan style. I'm not sure if I can anymore, but explosions. The force of an explosion is measured in the blast power. No, I can't do that. I'm overdoing it there. Never mind. We'll just go on. For each person within short range of a blast when the detonation occurs, roll a number of base dice equal to the blast power. This, I think it's like near 0 if I remember correctly. For every success roll, the victim suffers 1 point of damage. The roll cannot be pushed. Victims at engaged range from the detonation suffer an extra point of damage. Hello. Yeah, somebody mentioned that to me on this last week. A coworker might said, say pillow. I'm like, pillow? He's like, I never even knew he said that word differently, but apparently that's the first time. I'm 50 years old. That's the first time anybody's ever said pillow. Now I've heard it twice in a week. So if I'm saying it funny, I'm saying it funny. It's fine. There we go. Effect radius. Powerful charges with a blast power of 7 or more can harm people even at medium range. The blast power is then reduced by 6. If there are many people within medium range of the blast, the GM can simplify the process by rolling once and applying the result to all victims. I'll be honest, I want to say it was Mutant Year Zero where I did this. That's actually how I run it, even at short range. I don't roll for each person. Caveat to that is for player characters. However, that tends to go a little faster. But when it's NPCs and you got like 4 NPCs in a small area, they all take the same damage because I want to keep things going. Not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what I do. Fire. Fire is measured in intensity. Oh, I think this is new. I don't remember reading a fire rule in the other games before, or I might have just forgotten. A typical fire has intensity 8. When exposed to fire, roll a number of base dice equal to the intensity. For every success rolled, so every 6 you roll, you suffer 1 point of damage. Armor can protect you. Okay. If you take damage, you catch fire and continue to burn and suffer another attack at the start of each new round. The intensity increases by 1 each round. As soon as a fire attack inflicts no damage, the fire goes out by itself. Oh, thank God. So don't do any damage. Don't do any damage. Don't do any damage. As soon as the fire goes out, you or a friend at engaged range can put out the fire with a successful mobility roll. It's a slow action. Okay, so hey, you can move and do it. If you are broken by fire, if you're broken by fire damage, that's going to be a bad day for you. Or suffer fire damage when already broken, you must make a death roll every round until you die or are saved by a medical aid roll. Oof, that's some bad stuff there. Oh, going back to the whole Minnesota thing for a second. I was taking a walk the other day and I saw a sign that said road. And in my head, I didn't say road. I said it the Minnesotan way, which is road. I don't know what it is about us Minnesotans. We add ease to words. It's not don't, it's don't. But I heard it in my head. I said, oh, road closed. I didn't say it. I heard it. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm even thinking like a Minnesotan now. I love the Yooper accent. Disease. When exposed to a dangerous contagion or infection, you need to roll an oppose roll for stamina against the virulence rating of the disease. Now, last week, we rolled an injury, a critical injury up that included the disease, and I was a little confused on how to roll that on the stream, just because the whole stream math thing, right? You could ask me right now in chat, what's 2 + 2? And I'll probably say, I don't know, somewhere around 5. Let's, like there's just something about stream rules, stream math that sometimes that when it's not just a direct habit, just lose your mind a little bit. Good news is now we're going to see exactly how that roll is done. I'm not going back to that. There's a comment. Somebody made a comment about how that process was actually done. You can read that comment. If you're angry with me for getting that wrong, that's fine. He got it right. But we're going to see how to do the virulence roll right now. Wilson to say, borrow me. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Hey, can you borrow me some money? Yeah, no, my mom, okay, tangent time. See, this is what happens when I read chat when I'm reading. Tangent time here. So some of you know my soapbox issue about he in the singular and they in the singular. You'll even probably catch me as I'm reading this book. Anytime I catch they in the singular, I change it to he because you should never use they in the singular. That's activist talking. But there are other things that we used to get corrected on. So we'll put it on there. Grizzly Beard. So Grizzly Beardo goes, hey, we also tend to say about, and my mom would be like, no, he didn't go to you. He said to you. And then there's the borrow thing. Can you borrow me some money? No, I can lend you some money though. So we were actually corrected on that stuff as kids growing up. And yes, I do remember that one. Do they still do that up there? And we were an educated state once. So I had to give a Bama boy road to okay, so I live in Alabama right now, right? I shouldn't be tangenting like this because he's got a video later, but I like interacting with chat. He called it friedly. So my Alabama story is last year I went to a doctor, and after the examination was done, the nurse came and said, when you're done, go to the lift and we'll meet you at the I can't do the southern accent, but she said go to the lift. I'm thinking lift. Now, mind you, I lived in Germany for 11 years, so I'm thinking, is she talking lift? Is there an elevator here I didn't know about? Oh, she was saying left. The lift. Like, what? What is a lift? So, all right, back to this, because you guys will sidetrack me. So a typical disease has a virulence of 3. If you remember the one that we rolled for the critical roll, it actually had a 6. So we'll see how different that is in a moment. If you fail the roll, you fall sick, which has several effects. Okay, so hold on. You make an opposed roll for stamina against the virulence rating of the disease. So if it has a virulence of 3, what does that mean? I have to get 3 successes? So it hasn't told yet. To be fair, it hasn't told yet. So we'll see. Hopefully there's an example for that. 1 shift after infection, the disease breaks out, at which time you suffer 1 point of damage. Okay, that's bad. So this is if you fail the roll. You fall sick, and you now suffer a point of damage. You can't recover health while sick. Oh. Make another sickness roll at the start of each shift. Oh, wow. Slow rolling diseases here. Each failed roll means you suffer another point of damage. If you are broken while sick, you must make another sickness roll after every shift. Failure means death. Well, malaria got you. As soon as you succeed at a sickness roll, you are no longer sick. Stop rolling sickness rolls and recover your health normally. Okay, that's going too far. It's for cute. If you can do it right, it's like, oh, for cute. And yes, oofda is a word. I don't know if they still use it, but I know growing up, oofda was said a lot. Oofda, let's move on. Medical aid. If someone cares for you while you're sick, this person can roll your sickness rolls instead of you. Well, that's nice. Please, doc, roll my sickness rolls for me because I'm horrible. The healer rolls for medical aid against the virulence of the disease. I'll be honest right now that I should know this, and I don't. Hopefully it explains it better. But that virulence of 3, and somebody will put in comments, I know, be angry. Remember, I'm kind of learning this as well. But this is in Forbidden Lands. I don't know why I'm not thinking clearly about this. It's got to be streaming. Virulence of 3. Stamina roll versus... Okay, so it's roll 3 dice. Just, isn't it? It's not a target number of 3 because you don't ever need 3 successes for something. What I'm thinking off the top of my head is you roll your stamina roll that however many dice it is. The disease rolls dice as well, and whoever gets the highest number of successes basically wins. That's if I got it right. Hopefully, if there's an example, we'll finally read it. We'll actually read an example if there's one. Other diseases. The sickness effects described above reflect a common but deadly disease. There are many other diseases that can have unique effects. Oh yeah, it's great. Mummy rot, Radiation. Okay, well, we're just going to get to radiation now. By the way, so even if you correct me in chat, which is totally fine, go ahead and correct me in the comments, if I got that wrong. Heck, even if I got it right, just so people can, know that what I was talking about was right. Unless we get to it in a moment, one of the things that I highly encourage this book to do a little better is to, because it does have great examples in here, is to actually explain how to make that virulence roll. I know it said make an opposed roll, but a good technical manual is going to put out there, right at that spot, this is how it's rolled. Or this is what it's done. I know one could say, well, you can infer that from these other things, and I get it. Usually you can do that. And if I had the book in front of me and I was about to run the game, I would have this down pat. But reading it and at first glance, especially for a book written this well, it should have that clarity in there. I think that's my only complaint about this book is sometimes it's not as clear as it could be. And look at this. They have a ton of open space that they could use, for another sentence or two. Rodney Abadi, I think it was him, made an amazing comment on one of the things that we were screwing up a couple of videos ago. And I was like, if the book had written it that way, we'd just moved right on. So, but all right, enough of that. Let's, radiation. The world of Alien contains many places where you'll be exposed to hard radiation. On a spacewalk near a dying star, for example. See, that's not... Can I just live on Earth? Or when you try to repair your ship's leaking reactor core. Again, not a fun time. Dump it into space and float. I don't know, go in one of those little space pods and let them pick you up 70 years later. When you are exposed to radiation, you gain radiation points, or rads. Oh, we're playing Mutiny Zero again. Let's do it. That accumulate in your body. Check off the rad boxes on your character. Oh, just Fallout. Doing space Fallout. The area's radiation level determines how often you get rads. Weak radiation, 1 rad per shift. Well, that's nice. 8-hour shift gives you 1 rad. Strong radiation, 1 rad per turn, so about every 10 minutes. And extreme radiation, 1 rad every few seconds. That's lovely. Can we not be there, please? Effects. Every time you gain a radiation point, you must roll a number of dice equal to your total current number of accumulated rads. For every success you roll, you take 1 point of damage. Oh, this is when successes are bad. You know what I would have done? And again, this is a quibble. I'm just theory crafting here. I would have changed it, say, you roll a number of stress dice equal to this, and then have the face hugger be bad. Why? Because nobody wants face huggers. I know, it's a little pedantic thing. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. But in a game where successes are always good, let's let the successes stay always good, and just let them roll the stress dice, for the radiation, and then try not to get the face hugger. But whatever. That's not a complaint, just saying that's just something that I anecdotally see as I'm reading this. If you are broken by radiation damage, you must make a death roll each time you get another rad until you are removed from the radiation hotspot. As long as you remain inside a hotspot, you cannot recover health in any way. Recovery. After you leave the irradiated area, you heal 1 rad per shift. Permanent radiation. Uh-oh. There is a risk that radiation will permanently stay in your body. Yeah. And it's not a pretty death at all. Every time you're about to heal a rad, roll a stress die. Oh, here's the stress die. Boom. If it shows a face hugger, the rad is not healed, but instead becomes permanent. So every time you're about to heal a rad. Oh, okay. Okay. So my idea wouldn't work because as you're doing this, you're also doing this. All right. I still like my idea though. If it shows a face hugger, the rad is not healed, but instead becomes permanent. Wow. Mark this by filling in the rad box fully on your character sheet. Permanent radiation can never be healed. I'm going to take a look at this paragraph again. So every time you're about to heal a rad, so when you're up here, every time you gain radiation point, you must roll a number of dice equal to your current number of accumulated rads. So let's say you have 5 rads. All right. For every success you roll, you take 1 point of damage. Every time you gain radiation, you roll a number of dice. So if I roll 5 dice, so how often are you rolling this? How often you get rads? Every time you gain radiation. So let's just say it's strong. So every turn, right? Every turn you get 1 rad. So let's just say I've been here for a while. So I've been here for 45 minutes. I am now about to get my 5th rad point. Every time you gain a radiation point, you must roll a number of dice equal to your total current number of accumulated rads. So at that point, it would be 5. For every success you roll, you take 1 point of damage. But There's risk of radiated in the body every time you're about to heal. Okay, so these are different. This is gaining a rad. This is just about gaining the rad and taking the damage. So these are actually separate. So this is my fault. The reason why I was going back and forth is I was conflating that these were happening at the same time. They're not. That was my fault. So this is specifically when you're healing the rads. Got it. Mark this by filling the rad box fully into character sheet. Permanent radiation can never be healed. Permanent radiation equals cancer? Maybe? I don't know if the game goes into things that deeply. I don't know. Most Free League games don't go into things that deep. Yeah, we're already going on to drowning, but you could add something like that to your game. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you could. It's up to you and your table how deeply you want to do it. Just be careful, though. This game, the Free League games do tend to have a death spiral in them. All player characters are assumed to know how to swim. For the purposes of movement, swimming counts as crawling. Okay, if by choice or not you are underwater, you need to make a stamina roll every round. This roll is not an action and is made during your turn before you perform your action. Well, that's nice. If you fail, you suffer 1 point of damage. You're starting to breathe in water. You're getting really tired, fatigued. Things are just bad for you. Yeah. If you fail, you suffer 1 point of damage. If you're broken when drowning, you must make a death roll each turn until you die or someone saves you with a medical aid roll. Suffocation. If your supply of air runs out, man, space is just trying to kill you in every way possible, isn't it? You won't have long to live. You'll start breathing in your own exhaled air, building up dangerous levels of carbon dioxide that will eventually kill you. After your air supply runs out, you must make a stamina roll every turn or after every strenuous activity, like a roll for close combat or mobility. The first roll is unmodified, the second gets a -1, third gets a -2 because you're huffing and puffing and you're making that air even worse and worse. A failed roll means you drop directly to 0 health and must make a death roll every round until you die or you enter a pressurized area. Okay. Oh my word. How many more pages do we have for this first video? Okay, just a couple more. All right. Oh, we'll look at synthetic. So this is going to be where Heathen Dog cares. Heathen Dog, wants to play that android, right? Synthetics. Heathen Dog, if you're watching, it's all about you now, buddy. Synthetic individuals are increasingly common in the core systems and appear in the frontiers as well. Some are open about their artificial nature, others pose as humans, there's a period there. In combat, androids act like humans, and they roll skill rolls normally, but there are several differences. First, all right, what do we have? Attributes. Synthetics generally have higher attribute scores than humans, right? Skills and stress. Androids can't push skill rolls. That's fine. Heathen Dog doesn't like pushing skill rolls. They don't, but there's still the rule of you either succeed or fail. It isn't like you get to try again. You still have to change the environment. That's what the whole pushing the roll is for. Is like, no, I'm really going to make this because if I fail, I don't get another opportunity to try again. They don't suffer stress, don't have stress levels, and they never make panic rolls. All right, that makes sense. Damage. If a synthetic is broken, roll for a critical injury on the table to the right. Until the android suffers system shutdown, it can continue to operate, only suffering the effects of the critical injury. This makes androids very hard to stop. I mean, look, Bishop was ripped in half, right? Each further attack inflicting damage on a broken android will inflict another critical injury. If you roll the same critical injury again, shift it down one step on the table from a 4 to a 5, for example, and we'll look at those in just a moment. Repairs. Androids don't heal. Instead, a shift of work and a ComTech roll is required to repair all lost health points. Okay, that's good. All lost health points and all critical injuries as long as the android hasn't suffered a system shutdown. Oh, so they can repair themselves. Okay, so androids can repair themselves. All right. This period here kind of threw me off. So let's do this again. Instead, a shift of work, so 6 to 10 hours, and a ComTech roll is required to repair all lost health points and all critical injuries as long as the android hasn't suffered system shutdown. Stop. They can repair themselves. Because I was reading this as if the period was here. If you can see the highlights. So as long as the android hasn't suffered system shutdown, they can repair themselves. That is not the sentence. Those are two different parts there. So pay attention to the punctuation. Death. Androids don't make death rolls and cannot die. If they suffer system shutdown, they can be reactivated to communicate with. This requires a power source, a turn of work, and a ComTech roll. An android revived in this way can be repaired to working order, but will suffer a permanent mental trauma. What? I got a psychotic robot. I got Bender. We just made Bender. Resources. Synthetics don't need air. That's great. Food, water, or sleep. They're immune to vacuum, cold, and disease. Androids are typically unaffected by alien pathogens. Man, everything about the android still sounds great. Well, except for you have to rely on somebody else to fix you. All right, let's, we're not going to read Electric Sheep. All right, let's, I'm just going to roll a die. I'm rolling one die. Oh, I already had one over there, but I got a 2. Destroyed leg servos. This is the critical hit on the android, right? Critical injuries on synthetics or artificial people. Destroyed leg servos. Both legs are non-functional. The android must stay prone and can only crawl. I guess this is effectively what internal organs spill out. Oh no, I guess 5 would be what Bishop had. So 6 is system shutdown is only on a 6. Okay. So they're still pretty tough, man. All right. It's illegal to program them for violence, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that never happens in the movies, right? Ash. All right, xenomorphs. You've heard the stories about the monsters out there. You better hope that you won't need to face one yourself. Fighting xenomorph beings is something different entirely and far more deadly than facing humans or even androids. Very few have lived to tell the tale. A range of xenomorphs are described in detail in Chapter 11, and we'll be covering that in a few weeks. In combat, xenomorphs follow special rules. More information for the GM is found on page 290, and like I said, we'll be covering that in a few weeks because I'm going through the book in order. Multiple actions. Some xenomorphs get to act twice or even 3 times in a round. That's not fair. For such creatures, the GM draws a number of initiative cards equal to the speed rating. At the time of each initiative, xenomorph gets to perform 1 fast action and 1 slow action. Wow. Okay. You know, that kind of makes sense, though. You know, I mean, it might be a little more complicated than it needs to be, but it does make sense. What one attack comes in now, you shoot it, it gets its other attack, another guy shoots it, it does its little jaw snappy thing. I can see that. Yeah, I probably would have wrote it up as it just does all of its stuff on its turn, just to keep things moving. But I don't have an issue with this at all. Yeah, it makes sense. So. All right. Most xenomorphs only attack in close combat at engaged range. Each time a xenomorph attacks, the GM rolls a d6, consults the table for the creature's signature attacks, and resolves the effects. Some signature attacks are extremely deadly. Where is that? Is that going to be on the next page or something? Wait. Oh, it's going to be in the description, so we're not going to get to that until later. And I'm going to forget about this video, and I'll be like, I don't know, signature attacks. By the way, this is very similar to Forbidden Lands, where you can pick or roll. Like the adventure I wrote for Forbidden Lands, you can either choose, you can pick the attack that the Minotaurs can do, or you roll randomly if you're not sure what the Minotaur would do at that point. Health. When a xenomorph is reduced to 0 health, it isn't broken in the way humans. Instead, the GM rolls a d6 and a special critical injury table on page 291. I almost want to look at that today, but we're not going to. Cliffhanger. Weeks-long cliffhanger. Armor rating. Most xenomorphs have a thick hide resistant to attack, giving them natural armor rating. We talked about how to do armor last week. Special abilities. Some xenomorphs have special actions beyond the signature attacks. This is specified under each xenomorph description. I don't know, like putting a pee-pee in your mouth and dropping eggs. You do the math on that one. All right, there we go. I kind of read the comments as we were going on here, so I'm not going to put any of them on the screen. But that was way more than just stress and panic. In fact, I'll probably rename this segment to include conditions and other stuff as well. But yeah, I'm sorry. I got to do it. So it'd be 295. Critical injuries on xenomorphs. I'm going to be mad because that I did this early, but I can't help it. All right, let's roll a 6. So you got a critical injury on a xenomorph. Whoops, I got a 1. What's 1? Rise again. The xenomorph falls to the ground, seemingly dead, but it's a ruse. If it's attacked again or on its next initiative, it regains 1 point of health and rises, fueled by instinctive hatred. That sucks. Yeah, we got it. It's killing me again. Okay, well, there you go. That's a critical injury on a xenomorph. Let's get back to where we were. I don't know what page we were on. I should know what page we're on because I have these right here. It's approximately 115. All right, that's close enough. Come on, scroll down. Okay, well, I hope you liked that segment on not vehicle combat, on panic, stress, and conditions. The next one, as I spoiled already, is going to be on what do you call it? On vehicle combat. And then once we get through vehicle combat, we'll see what people want us on the live stream today are up to. If they want me to cover gear section, I will, or I'll wait till next week. I don't know. We'll see. Or we'll also see how I feel. So there you go. Hope to see you in the next video. Later.